Welcome to the Get Your Ass Up podcast. I'm Tony, the closer. I'm here to inspire and motivate you to never give up on your dreams. As a former NFL athlete who overcame personal setbacks like going to jail and bankruptcy, I turned my life around to become one of the top salesmen in the world. In this podcast, we'll feature celebrity guests, successful entrepreneurs, and my incredible network to give you real-world advice on how to achieve success in all aspects of life. Whether you're looking to build a successful business, achieve financial freedom, or simply need some motivation to keep pushing forward, we've got you covered. Man, we've had amazing celebrity guests on here like Dame Dash, T.I., my boy Joe Hayden and Edgerrin James, Andre Berto, and more, sharing their stories and insights on how to reach their full potential. Listen, so are you ready to get your ass up and achieve your dreams? Hit that subscribe button right now so you never miss an episode of the Get Your Ass Up podcast with me, your boy Tony, the closer. Let's dive in. Let's change your life together. Let's go.
That would be the perfect troll, is to have black people wearing apes and wearing chains with apes on them and making that be a symbol of wealth. Wouldn't that be the funniest shit in the world to a racist?
Creator of Bored Ape Yacht Club, Yuga Labs, is suing
Ryder Ripps.
That's Ryder Ripps.
Ryder Ripps for seeking to devalue the brand.
He's not a YouTuber. He's doing that because he doesn't like the narrative.
All right, guys, we are here on the Get Your Ass Up show. A couple weeks back, you guys heard me sit down with Dame Dash, and when I first met Dame, we were sitting back in the dressing room, and we were having a conversation about the Bored Ape Yacht Club. And I had heard a lot of the Philly previous video that came out, but I kind of watched it very from a I got a bag already with the apes. So I didn't really watch it fairly.
Mm-hmm. You were skeptical.
I was skeptical. I did, after leaving, I didn't watch the complete video. I probably watched about the first 45 minutes. And I saw so many similarities and traits of things. I was like, man, this is like a big conspiracy theory-ish feel. It's like what it gave me.
Yeah.
And then, I meet Dame, and Dame is sitting in the locker room. He's telling me about the troll. And as he begins to explain why his logic is what his logic is, I kind of become a little bit more receptive of the troll. And then it kind of made me think about my other experiences in the NFT space, and it comes from I purchased a Jungle Freak, and then, the buzz behind a lot of NFTs comes before you find out a lot about the artists and the other things behind a lot of these projects that are, either racist or have some sort of pedophilia or some type of something going on in the background that like are hidden by either the artists or the creators of these projects.
Right.
And now I'm sitting down with Dame, and I'm hearing like this whole idea of the troll and what the art was created for, and then I'm like, wow, let me go back and look at this again. Mm-hmm. And he mentioned Ryder Ripps, and he goes, yeah, man, I sat down with Ryder Ripps. So I said, for me to get a better understanding, and we kind of like, I wanted to be fair because like, even though I own a Bored Ape, I've been hearing so much of this. This became a big thing. I mean, even on my Twitter feed, guys found the Dame interview, and it became pretty popular topic where it was a lot of retweets and things that came off Dame's feedback during that podcast. So I was like, man, let me reach out to Ryder. Mm-hmm. And I appreciate you coming on the show, man. So thank you so much for joining the Get Your Ass Up show. First and foremost, who is Ryder Ripps?
I'm an artist and designer. I've worked in the music industry mostly for about 12 years. I'm from New York City, and most recently I've been doing NFT art for a little over a year, probably almost 2 years now. Actually, time goes by fast. But before that, I've definitely had more of a focus on the digital side, on internet culture. And I've made, beyond the design work that I've done with a lot of different musicians, I started my music career working for MIA, making websites and graphics with her. And then that just basically led one thing after the next. I started working with a lot of different musicians. I most recently worked with Tyga and Tame Impala. I've worked with Travis Scott and Kanye West and Pop Smoke, R.I.P., and a lot of
Pop Smoke
for sure, and a lot in just design world overall. I worked with Virgil, R.I.P., and
so Ryder Ripps ain't just like some internet troll.
No.
You actually have.
I mean, to be honest with you, I'm actually kind of like more of like a behind the scenes guy. I never really made a huge effort to like be, like extremely like put my name on T-shirts or anything like that. And so a lot of times like people don't, people in the industry might know me, but normal people like, might not know that I'm behind like some of the biggest, a lot of the biggest brands. Like I branded this company named 88 Rising, which is a large Asian media company. I did all their logos and just like built the original team and stuff. And I've worked on V-Files, which is like another fashion brand that started in New York around 2011. And I've worked a lot with like the first company that Heron Preston and Matt Williams and Virgil had was called Bintrill, and I did like their website and graphics and stuff for them.
Very cool.
And that's how I kind of got into the mix. Actually, that was probably like one of the big breakthroughs because that was like 2013, and then Ye actually saw that website and was like, "Who made this? I want to meet them." And then like within a few days, I was on a plane like in his living room, just like talking, and we connected from that. So, yeah, my
What's
work.
it like working with Kanye?
I love working with Kanye, and I think he's such a raw creative in a real sense, in the sense that there's nothing that will stop him in terms of getting out his creativity, and he doesn't see any bounds between like music and fashion and ideas. Like these are all things that are in unison, basically. You know what I mean? And he's been basically preaching that since the beginning of his career. Like, I'm not just a producer, I'm a rapper. You know what I mean? And people were trying to give him the brick wall and say and put him into a box and pigeonhole. And I think what he is going against is basically something that a lot of people who are truly creative feel, which is they don't want to be pigeonholed. They want to be able to express themselves in a multitude of ways. They want to be free and in totality and not be put in a box and seen one way. So I love working with Ye because I kind of identify with that myself because I've worn a lot of hats. And I also think that as a creative, it's like you want to do the opposite thing as being someone in a cubicle. Like, you don't want to be the person behind the desk. Right. You know what I mean? You don't want the exact same routine, the exact same corporate life over and over again, living the same day over and over again, like Groundhog Day. Like, as a creative, you want to keep pushing yourself to new heights and learn new things. And because life is a journey, like he talks about, like how adults are stifled, like compared to children. You know what I mean? Like you get on a desk and scream, like, and a kid can do that, and that's acceptable. But an adult can't do that. And if an adult does that, they'll be called crazy and stuff like that. So I think if you keep that childlike sensibility of creativity, then you're pursuing life to its fullest, because life isn't meant to be like, oh, I'm 18, now I'm going to live the same day over and over again for the next 60 years. Like, that's not what life should be. I mean, at least to me,
agree.
You know what I mean? So I think creative, basically, the kind of creativity that I love, at least, is someone who embraces that to the fullest. And that can be so many things. But to me, if you're an athlete and you want to become a painter, or you're a musician and you want to design furniture, or, all that stuff to me makes perfect sense. Like, it's not even a reach. Of course, like, you might have to learn some new skills, but the core essence of the thing, and like your desire to do it, and why you want to do it, is your desire to do it. Is the same, right? Like, you want to express yourself, if it's a beat, or if it's a chair, or if it's a T-shirt, or whatever, a novel. Like, all these things come from the same root, and Yeah, I mean, most likely if you're good at one of those things, you know, and if you can really break through and culturally say something that people haven't said before in, let's say, music, you can probably say something that people haven't said before in furniture design, like, because you have that sensibility within you.
That's very good to hear, and like definitely when you talk about like I always hear Kanye with a big misunderstanding. A lot of people don't understand his creativity, and he gets a lot of slack for being himself.
People will always resist and give flack to, and sometimes, in some cases, unfortunately, literally hate people who are free. That's what I've come to learn. If you are showing, if you are able to exert your full freedom, people are going to hate that. There are going to be people who come at you. If you're flaunting your freedom. If you flaunt your freedom, there will be people who are mad. And you know, Ye is an amazing example of that in every sense. He's just flaunting his freedom. Even petty shit that sometimes, you know, oh, Pete Davidson, whatever, like, who cares? You know what I mean? Like, all that stuff is him just being free. Like, he's allowed to do that. He's allowed to express himself. Like, we're all allowed to do that. You know what I mean? That's why this country is great. And it's like, if we want to not use our freedom of speech, for instance, then we might as well not, like, have freedom. You know what I mean? So I'm a huge believer, like, if you're not testing that stuff, if you're not constantly pursuing, you know, what it means to be free, you know, it's really easy to let that slip and one day wake up and you're not.
You mentioned some big dogs, some big names, Virgil, Kanye. I heard you mention Tiger. You mentioned who else? Who else you work with?
James Blake, I was working with
Blake.
for a while. I mean, a lot of, I'm trying to think. Travis Scott, I worked with for a while.
Very cool.
Yeah. And I mean, I say this because a lot of times when people ask, well, what do you do? They mean, how do you make money? So most of how I've made money in my life is doing design and creative direction work. I've designed a couple brands. I did this brand called Soylent, which is like a meal replacement product that's pretty popular. It's like now a multi-billion-dollar company. You could buy it at Walmart, at 7-Eleven. I designed another product called Nugs, which is like a vegan chicken nugget. I did all like the branding. So like a company like that will come to me and they'll say, we have this product or we have this idea for a product. What should we do? A lot of times I'll even like have input into the product itself. But it starts like, you know, with just an idea for design. Okay. And in my opinion, like, design is such a essential part to like the experience of a product. And that, you know, that's why I think like Steve Jobs is better than Bill Gates, because like he understands that, right? Like he understands the importance of design. So I think like design permeates into like every aspect of an experience, you know, like down to like how it tastes. Like I think the label is gonna change the way the drink tastes.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to it, man. You've been at war with the Bored Ape Yacht Club. There's, you know, in the last few months, like I kept hearing, Bored Ape is racist and the ape is racist, and you know, they're using symbolism of all these different racist sentiments, whether it be the hats on the ape or all these different things, the logo. Like there's so many different, like, man, as I went through the Philly video, I saw so many things. I said, holy shit, man, like how many coincidences are there?
Yeah.
And, you know, quite honestly, like I feel like you guys are like fucking detectives or something, because like to be able to take the amount of time to research and break down so many different coincidences and looking at the logos and like identifying these things. So just in general, is this how most logos are created, with some sort of like extra meaning and things like that behind it? Because you're a brand builder and designer, like, you know, like, because to think like the way that you guys broke down that video, like I'm like, God damn, bro, like there's a lot of thought that went behind reviewing all these different similarities.
I think it's interesting you bring up the logo. because that actually was my first entry point into fully being convinced that this thing is fucked up. Because actually someone else had sent me the two logos, the Bored Ape logo and the SS Totenkampf logo. The SS Totenkampf were the officers that were in charge of the mass extermination of Jews in the Holocaust. They literally were the people at the camps killing the 6 million Jews that died. And so like that logo to me is worse than a swastika because of the people that it represents. So when I saw, as a designer, I do know the process that modern designers today use, which is probably a lot different than how people design stuff, 200 years ago. But the way people design stuff now is mostly from references. So you'll see something and you'll say, I want something that looks similar to this. And you'll kind of change some stuff around. Sometimes you'll trace it and then change some of the lines when you trace it. But the fact that like the logo, which I have a printout of, if you wanna, I can like pull it up.
Yeah, you can pull it up. Yeah.
There's a lot of printouts here. But yeah, the fact that the logo has so many matching attributes, such as the rough edge around it, such as the fact that it has 18 teeth, such as the color scheme, the placement.
And that's what I'm like talking about, man. I look at the video and I'm like, damn, y'all counted the teeth, the edges, the everything. I'm like, holy shit, man. Like, I mean, it's like you got to be a private eye to understand that. And that I think that from when you're introducing, NFTs to the masses, and there's so much hype that gets behind it, and people start seeing the money and all the other things that you can make off a project, it's easy to not know anything about the things that these symbols and these logos represent.
Yeah, I can't. I have too many papers here.
You can't compare it, man. We like that.
Yeah, I was gonna talk about like symbols in general, because it's like this idea of embedding stuff. I think the reason that I started looking into it more is because I know that is something that happens. People do that online a lot. Like here, I just happened to pull up this. Like this was a 4chan printout that was basically code words of different ways to sneak talk about different people. And so like you can,
wow.
Yeah. And so then you can see them doing it in tweets here. So like, for instance, like Skype is Jew. So then you can read like they say.
Oh, so it's basically like talking in Morse code.
Yeah.
It gives you the ability to be able to say slick shit without people knowing exactly what you're talking about.
Exactly. So this was a whole code. Basically it was like, so Skype means Jew. So it's like, here's someone tweeting, ironically, the most Skypes operate their whole lives not using their ancestral name, choosing to adopt a name that hides their true identity. So instead of saying, because the thing is, they'll get banned if they say most Jews. Mm-hmm. And they have N-word is Google or something. So instead of saying these words, they encode it with the name of tech companies. And this was
I think the Skypes at New York Times need a new pet Google. Exactly.
So
wow.
Yep. So my point, I printed that out. That's just one example.
That's crazy.
That's just one example.
So that would mean I think the Jews at New York Times need a new pet nigga.
Exactly.
Ain't that a bitch?
And so another thing is like, wait, let me find the logo thing. Okay, here it is. So I also wanted to print this out, and I know this is an intense thing to show, but I'm Jewish, so this shit affects me. Both my grandparents fought Nazis. So this is and that's not that long ago. It's not even 100 years ago. You know what I mean? So like these are the two logos that we're talking about here, right? So this is the Bored Ape logo, and this is the Totenkampf. And you can see, like, you see how that edge is wavy? Like, that's not a normal thing. I'll just tell you as a designer, like, I've designed many logos. I look at a lot of logos. I haven't seen that. And the Bored Ape logo has the same thing. You count the teeth, it's the same amount of teeth. the position of the skull.
And just real quick, when you talk about teeth and the number of teeth, what's the relevance? It just
So it's 18 teeth. 18 is Adolf Hitler, meaning A is 1 and 8 is age. So alphanumerically, it's Adolf Hitler. But I do want to just show this, and I know it's intense, but I think it is important because I did find a statistic that said that over 60%, I think it was 68% or something, of kids polled in America, I think there was between 16 and 25 or something like that, did not know that 6 million Jews died in the Holocaust. They didn't know how many died at all. They thought it was less than 100,000. So I just wanted to show this image because this is an image of the one of the mass graves. But there was enough mass graves that would fit 6 million people. Some people were incinerated, and this is disgusting. And so my point is regardless of if your intent was to make it after the Nazi logo, I believe that their intent is that, because I can give you about 100 other examples. But just the fact that this logo looks so much like this logo and what this logo represents is what I just showed, that should make you want to change it. You should be sensitive enough to that. Do you know what I mean? And overlooking that and laughing at me or laughing at anyone saying that these logos don't look alike or that this isn't a big issue, to me is a problem, because this is in recent history. This isn't some shit that happened, 400,000 years ago. You know what I mean? This isn't the dinosaurs. This just happened. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like I've met people who dealt with this in my own life. You know what I mean? So it's like, as Dame said in your podcast, like they're not. This history repeats, but it doesn't repeat exactly the same way. They do it in a different way, and it's like the way that things are happening now is sneak racism, is because you can't, it's like what Dame said, you can't just be overtly racist in this day and age. It's not the way you can't get away with it. You get canceled in a second.
Right.
So the way to do it is to inject it into culture in a subconscious way and to normalize it. And that's really what's dangerous here is when we start accepting it and normalizing it because maybe there's a bag attached or maybe there's a celebrity attached or for whatever reason we start accepting this stuff. And that's where it becomes dangerous. You know what I mean? So for me, people can have logos that look like that. People can promote monkey pictures, whatever. But we need to acknowledge what this stuff is and the danger of it, and not say there is no danger and it means nothing, because that's where it becomes a problem and that's where it becomes dangerous. Like that's what it is to me. You know what I mean?
Right.
It'd be like saying like, and the whole thing with the monkey picture thing, which I want to bring up, is, a lot of people might not realize that the entire history of racism, whether it's racism against black people or racism against Chinese people or racism against Jews, is essentially comparing people to monkeys. The entire basis of it. So when Europeans took people from Africa and enslaved them, they did that and they justified it in their own consciousness by saying these people are not human. These people are more like monkeys. And
Right.
and the way the Nazis killed all the Jews is they literally said the same thing. And you can go and you could see the images where they would measure people's skulls. You know what I mean? They would measure all their bones, their vertebrae, to basically try to scientifically prove that Jews and blacks and gypsies and anyone who wasn't them was a monkey. And so, like, when you have a logo that looks like a Nazi logo, and then you have, you're selling monkey pictures, there's a direct connection between that. Do you know what I mean? And then beyond that, they embed the guy, Confederate general, into the collection. The Confederacy's the entire point of the Confederacy was to maintain the institution of slavery in this country. Why would you do that?
I think you're referring to Stonewall Jackson, right?
Yeah, Stonewall Jackson.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, we could go. I can talk a lot, and this is another example of the sneak shit that they do. This is the co-founder of Bored Ape Yacht Club. One of them. There's 4 of them. Each one has a fucked up name, by the way. But this guy's name is Emperor Tomato Ketchup. These are stills from the movie Emperor Tomato Ketchup. This is a guy in a KKK hood. This is a child in a fascist uniform next to a woman who's tied up naked. This is a naked man tied up. Like, this is a company that sells cartoons and video games. That's shit for children. And they want to say, well, we named it after, there's a music group who has the same album, obscure indie music group. And they would say, oh, well, we named it after the music group. Well, they named it after the movie. But the other thing is the music group isn't selling cartoon monkeys, and they're not selling video games and stuff. That's stuff that children like. You know what I mean? Like, children naturally, even if it's not.
Need water?
Yeah. Even if it's not intended for children, which it is pretty much intended for children, it's still something that children gravitate to. You know what I mean? And it's also not. Thank you. It's also not a $5 billion company. Do you know what I mean? Like some obscure musician who named themselves after that. They're not trying to insert themselves into every aspect of society. That's another problem that I have with the Bored Ape Yacht Club, is that literally it's like we're toothpaste, we're a video game, we're fucking there's so much shit
on beers, everything.
burgers, it's fucking everything, and it's like that to me is scary. Why are you trying to insert this shit into literally every music, every single movies, every single facet of society? They're trying to put this shit into, and it's like I've been doing this now for almost a year because I was like, this needs to get checked. Do you know what I mean? It's like if you were like, and this is my domain. A lot of people don't realize that. Like I've done internet art, and my parents are artists. I've been around art my whole life. You know, like, this is something that I know. Do you know what I mean? Like, there are a lot of other huge, much bigger issues that I don't really know about, so I can't speak about it. But I know about the internet, and I know about art. So I feel like I need to speak on this because there are a lot of people who are against the Bored Ape Yacht Club, but they might not realize how big of an issue it is, so they're not dedicating their life to this shit. They're just like writing a tweet. Like, you can find hundreds of thousands of tweets of people complaining about the Bored Ape Yacht Club, whether it's racist or they just hate it.
So I heard you mention dedicate their life towards it. How passionate are you about your pursuit in the Bored Ape Yacht Club and going all the way? Like, I mean, obviously, I believe you guys are dealing with some type of legal issues with them as well.
So they sued myself and my partner Jeremy for basically trademark, saying that we use their trademark. And, there are a lot of companies who use their trademark. Like, there's weed companies that say Bored Ape Yacht Club and all this stuff, and they don't sue anyone. So it's very obvious they're suing us in a very strategic way to silence this. They don't like this message. And if this message wasn't true, they would be suing us for defamation.
Well, let me ask you a question, because you guys created a what is it, a RRBAYC?
That's right. Mm-hmm. Yep.
And to my understanding, you guys still created apes, right?
Yep.
You basically reproduced the same 10,000 PFPs.
Yes.
What did you do any different?
The whole thing was basically to protest several different aspects of the Bored Ape Yacht Club. One of them is that their thing is a scam, like in its entirety. Like, one of the biggest parts of the Bored Ape Yacht Club in terms of their selling point is that you own the IP. You own the intellectual property rights, the copyright to an ape, to your little ape NFT that you buy. So that means that you can buy it, you can put it on a t-shirt, you can make money selling the t-shirt. We think that is a lie for multiple reasons. Some of the apes are exactly the same. There's actually 112 apes that are literally identical. So, and then beyond that, there's a lot of copyright issues within the apes themselves. So, effectively, what I call reminting, which is taking an image and making a new mint of it, you're changing the context. And what we did by reminting it is show that that copyright doesn't exist, because we didn't get sued for copyright. We got sued for trademark. So we've effectively proven that aspect of the critique, which is that there is no copyright. Because if there was copyright, we would be getting sued for copyright, because that's actually a more egregious thing. Like, on paper, it's like what you just said, like you copied the apes. They're the same thing. So a lot of the RRBAYC thing is like an experiment. And also it's to shed light. If you show something, and yes, it's still racist. Yes, the apes are still racist, but they're shown in the proper light. Do you know what I mean? Like to me, that is what's important. Do you know what I mean? It's like the education of the thing. Like there's a museum called the Jim Crow Museum, where it's all artifacts from Jim Crow era.
Right.
You know, and that's not a racist museum. Do you know? And the way the curator or the owner of the museum explains it, he says that you need to expose a wound to light, and it's only that when you expose it that wound will heal. If you keep putting bandages on top of the wound, like if a cut, like let's say a cut, and you don't ever expose it, it's never going to heal. And so I believe that that's true for many things. I think education has the ability to prevent atrocity, and has the ability to fix things before it comes out of hand. So I believe that the Bored Ape Yacht Club is a situation that could easily go out of hand. So if I'm able to expose it, and if that means proliferating it more, but exposing the truth, that's a balance that I've weighed, and I've weighed it in that's more important to expose it than it is it is a double-edged sword, though. You're right, because at the same token, you're proliferating the stuff more. You know what I mean? You're showing it more. You're getting it more famous. You're bringing more attention to it.
Yeah, I even when I saw the launch of the RRBAYC, I kind of just pay attention. Like I try to be neutral a lot, right?
Yeah.
Even though my bag is invested with BAYC,
Yeah.
I try to take a very neutral approach, because I like to make sure I'm making informed decisions.
Right.
And then, like as I watched the kind of the feedback and what people were saying on Twitter and everything else, a lot of people had issue with, like, for example, you making profit off the project, and then saying basically you were a troll because you were literally using the same type of art that you're protesting against.
Mm-hmm. I would like to also make a point about that in general, because oh, sorry, dude.
Go ahead.
I just, because I wanted to say what basically I started realizing that one of the most powerful tools in the history of creation is appropriation. So like, and it's also extremely important in First Amendment cases. So like, one of the most important First Amendment cases, freedom of speech cases ever, was Two Live Crew versus Roy Orbison in I think it was 1990. And so basically, Two Live Crew went to they were trying to sample Pretty Woman, which is a Roy Orbison song, and Roy Orbison wouldn't let them sample it, or his estate wouldn't let them sample it, and they were like, "Fuck this," and they just sampled it anyways. And then his estate sued them, and that they argued that because they changed the context of it, like because they brought it into a new form, a new genre of music, it brought new meaning into the thing, and it was a form of expression, and they won that case because it literally is. It's a very powerful form of expression and critique to be able to, take something, repurpose it, and put it into a new light. It makes people realize and think about the thing in a different way. And it's definitely, you cannot say that Two Live Crew is like Roy Orbison in any way. It's not the same audience.
So what differentiates, once again, the RRBAYC and then the BAYC when it comes to representation of some of the racist or cinematic images, right? Like what's the difference? Because if I'm if and this is just being fair, right? If I'm sitting back and I'm hearing Ryder tell me, you know, the clear indications of how these symbols are racist, 18 teeth and et cetera, and then you create the same thing, what's the difference, right?
I think the difference is the intent. You know, one is trying to fool people and insert some sort of ideology without them knowing what it is, and the other's intent is to dismantle that ideology and to hold a mirror to it and say, you guys don't have power anymore because I'm showing the world your playbook.
Okay. The pushback that you guys have received over the last 6+ months or whatever this has been.
Well,
how long has this been going on?
Yeah, so a lot of people I think also confuse like the RRBAYC thing with just like the protest of Bored Ape Yacht Club, which the protest of Bored Ape Yacht Club started I think like really early December, maybe late November of what is it? Yeah, so of last year. So you know now we're almost at a year, and the RRBAYC project launched I believe in May.
Okay.
So that was quite a few months after, you know, just like the publishing of GordonGoner.com, for instance, which was the main website that like the facts were laid out on. But like a lot of this stuff has been going on Twitter, you know, like just galvanizing community, having discussion through Twitter Spaces and through, you know, just like tweeting a lot. So like, and that's been pretty much constant since December on this topic.
So ultimately, like, I guess a couple of things. Like, what do you want to happen with you and your battle with the Bored Ape Yacht Club? I mean, I think bringing obviously attention to these issues is really important. But if they burn certain apes, or what type of things do you think that they could do if you were saying, hey, if you were trying to correct this and make it right, do you say that they burn the entire 10,000 piece project? Do you say that which is now has become $1 billion project, do you say that, hey, do they burn certain images that are offensive? Like what? Like, because you know we always talk about issues, but then it's like, hey, what's the solution?
No, I hear you.
Like what the hell, you know, kind of makes this right?
I think first and foremost is just the education and acknowledging what it is. I mean, I think until you do that, there's nothing that can be done. I'm not, that whole like burn BAYC thing was not something that I started. That was actually like Philion, who made the documentary. He made that hashtag up. Which is I'm not like mad at it, so to speak. I think everyone should be able to express themselves however they want. If that's the way you want to express yourself, that's fine. But I don't think that necessarily like burning the apes or whatever changes anything. I think it's about education. Like I'm actually against burning stuff because like that's Ray Bradbury. That's like, you know, burning books. That's like what the Nazis did. I'm very much against that.
Yeah, Dame said it's like a swastika. He would actually keep it as a piece of history.
I mean, to be honest with you, I think if they were to acknowledge what they did, they would probably get in a lot of trouble. But it's such a remarkable thing in terms of like how they were able to manipulate, you know, the entirety of culture and make so much money doing it. That in and of itself is like sort of impressive. And like, you know, I know Jewish people who collect Nazi memorabilia. Do you know what I mean? So I don't think that that's necessarily, you know, the answer is trying to destroy history. I just think that acknowledging the stuff is really important. And another thing is like a lot of people are like, oh, well, Ryder's obsessed with the Bored Apes. It's actually an issue that is way bigger than the Bored Apes. The Bored Apes are just like kind of acting as the biggest microcosm of something that I see in culture in a much larger sense. Like the name of their company is Yuga Labs. this idea comes from, well, they lied when I pressed them about what does it mean. They said it's about Zelda, but then we found out that one of the founders has Kali Yuga in his bio, and I always thought that it had something to do with the Kali Yuga. And the Kali Yuga is basically the age of darkness, which is like a Hindu idea, but it's also an idea that people on 4chan and people in the right wing are obsessed with. So like Steve Bannon, who is Trump's main advisor, is obsessed with it. Alex Dolgan, who they just tried to kill him, actually. They tried to assassinate. This was in the news a few weeks ago, but they ended up, they planted a car bomb, and his daughter got in the car instead of him, and she died. But he's Putin's main advisor and has been for years, ever since Putin took office. And so these people are obsessed with this idea of the Kali Yuga. And I could explain it if you want, like in depth, but basically the name of the company is Yuga Labs, and they lied about the name of the company being a reference to this Kali Yuga thing. And they lied for good reason, because it's all tied to white supremacy. It's all tied to people who want to see the world burn, who are basically in favor of seeing a race war happen, and they believe that that's the only way to get ahead in society. So like essentially they're nihilists. So they want to see, they're like, oh, there's no hope for humanity. This is going to shit. Let's push it. Let's push it because that's the only way that it's going to get better. And there's no going back. You know what I mean? Like, we're not going to reverse anything. So let's go full steam ahead. And a lot of the people who have that belief are full on white supremacists.
I know.
Like for instance, another person who has also came out and said that Bored Ape Yacht Club is he said that it's referencing white supremacy is Richard Spencer. And Richard Spencer for the past 7 years has been talking about the Kali Yuga as well. And there's this whole thing that I could explain if you're interested, but like basically the connection between like Hindu people might think like, well, Hinduism, what the hell does that have to do with white supremacy? That doesn't make any sense. But if you actually look into it, so much of white supremacy was basically things that were stolen from Hinduism, down to the swastika itself. And actually, if you look at a really easy way to prove this is if you just go online, you look up the word Aryan. To most people, Aryan means white people. Nazis actually stole that word. Aryan doesn't mean white people. It means Indo-Iranians. The word Aryan before 1910 in Germany was basically a word that meant the area around Iran. And Germany was looking, or there's a few people, occultists in Germany, who were looking for their own identity because they didn't have the same like long history that like say the Jews have. They didn't have the same oral tradition as them. So they were trying to trace their own lineage, and they said, oh well, we see symbols that are carved in stones here from thousands of years ago that look like symbols in that area in Iran, and then they also look like symbols in India. So they're like, oh, well, we're the white people. We're the most supreme people on earth. We must have caused all those cultures. We created all those cultures. And so literally they bastardized the word itself, and they were like, we are Aryans, when in fact they're not Aryans. They're their own, they're just completely separate. So my point is a lot of these ideas, they seem crazy, like this Kali Yuga thing or the swastika coming from Hinduism, but the very words themselves, such as Aryan, which so many people don't realize has nothing to do with white people. You know what I mean? And they basically just stole that word. And so my point is that's why I say this whole Bored Ape Yacht Club is something that is bigger than just an NFT issue. You know what I mean? Like this type of white supremacy, this type of emboldenment of Aryan culture is something that is going on in a huge way online and in just on the ground. And you see it, the people who are responsible for a lot of these shootings, like the kid in Buffalo. he was a huge, 4chan user who like was into all of this kind of stuff.
Let's talk about 4chan a little
Yeah.
bit. We talked about this yesterday. I wasn't even familiar with it. So can you just kind of explain
For sure.
a little bit about it?
Yeah. So 4chan has been around for I don't know, maybe a little less than 20 years now. So we could look it up. But basically, it's an image board, and it was modeled after another image board from Japan called 2chan. And the way an image board works is it's different than most social networks like Twitter or like Facebook because it's anonymous. So everyone who posts on there doesn't have a username. They just all are anonymous. And the other way it's different is that threads will go up and then they'll just die. So someone, let's say you post an image and then you post some text with it, and someone will respond to that image and text. But all of those people are anonymous. And then the other thing is if that thread doesn't get any responses, it'll literally just vanish. So it's very hard to keep track of what's happening on 4chan. So because of that, people almost like live on it. Like it's almost like a chat room or something.
Right.
Where it's like things like a lot. There's so much activity, and then like the next day, all that activity is gone. And so because
like a Snapchat almost.
Yeah. So exactly, sort of like that. But I think a big difference is because everyone is anonymous, people just do and say the most wild shit, and no one knows really where it's coming from. And a lot of people have actually attributed the Trump's rise to power through like memes on 4chan. So like the power that 4chan, which is like I would describe it as like a hive mind. There's like millions of people who are anonymous. You don't know who they are, but they collectively like make a meme popular. They make it live and they make it die. And so like the push for Trump's presidency, this has been well documented, was something that like people on 4chan really helped with. And they actually called it like meme magic, which is interesting too. And actually, there's a so like this is an example of like some 4chan type of thing, which is this is the White House press secretary who tweeted out a picture of Joe Biden with this meme, dark Brandon, rise it again. I don't know if you know, but Joe Biden, like the right calls Joe Biden Brandon or whatever. But the little subversive symbol is this eagle behind it, and that's a Nazi eagle. And they got this is such a genius troll because they got the White House press secretary to promote that. And here's like another example, like Richard Spencer, who's like one of the most famous white supremacists, like literally, like openly is a Nazi. Like has this meme of Joe Biden as his background, and the White House press secretary, like he's basically flaunting that he got them to tweet this shit, because like a lot of that stuff is basically trying to indoctrinate like larger culture with this like niche culture, and then when it works, it's like it's exciting, and so
Right.
so the entirety of Trump's presidency was like, let's try to meme this guy into the White House, because they're like, no one, like this guy will never win, but like wouldn't it be crazy if he did? And so basically like sending memes against Hillary Clinton, like just like the whole Pepe the Frog thing came out of that. But what I was gonna share is oh yeah, so I was gonna share this, which is people don't. So like this is one of the Bored Apes in a prison outfit with a Prussian helmet. Prussia was just the name of Germany essentially before Germany. Before it's basically the Second Reich. So the Third Reich is Nazi Germany, and the Second Reich was Prussia. But Nazi Germany got a lot from Prussia. Like these are the flags. So this is the Prussian flag, this is the Nazi flag, and this is the 4chan flag. This is called Kekistan, which is a fictional country. It's not a real country, but they fly this flag like as a joke. But you can see what my point is the direct lineage between these cultures, between Prussia, Nazi Germany, and then now this like 4chan culture. They all, this design format is the same for all these flags. So when you see something like, which is an obvious reference to this very famous case of simionization, one of the most famous, and Vogue got in a lot of trouble actually for mimicking this cover with LeBron James. That was a very widely panned thing. But my point is when you see references to Prussia, like that's what this shit is about, especially in the internet, because it goes back to like with the flags, like these are just directly related. And neo-Nazis today fly the Prussian flag because you can't fly a swastika. You know what I mean? You can't go on the street flying a swastika flag because everyone's going to know you're a Nazi. Mm-hmm. But because people don't have, the proper education, a lot of times now, like, people will do things like fly a Prussian flag because they'll be able to only signal to other Nazis. It's like there's another thing like I hate Mondays. I don't know if that's like code. That's like racist code for like I hate black people.
Did not know that.
Yeah. Don't you just hate Mondays? That's like some shit that racists say. Yeah, so there's a lot of like sneak racism going on in general in the world. Sorry, I veered off. What was it was probably.
Well, a couple things, man. Like we start, this shit gets so deep, man. It's like holy
I
shit.
know, it's
like
a lot.
your mind runs, all over the place. Obviously what I was originally asking was about fortune.
Oh yeah, so I mean honestly, it sounds crazy, but the best way to explain 4chan is just to go on it. Like just go to 4chan.org/poll and see for yourself like what's going on, what people are talking about. You'll if you spend an hour looking at that site, you'll quickly see like the most fucked up racist Nazi just weird language that you don't understand, but it's like a whole nother world, and it moves super fast. And the other thing is that it really does affect culture. There were 6 academics who studied fascism on 4chan for about 7 years, and they noticed they started in 2013 about that, and I think they went to 2019 or somewhere, and they noticed a huge uptick in this Kali Yuga concept, the thing that I mentioned earlier. Yeah. And then they what they did was they downloaded all the images that were connected to people talking about that, and it was like hundreds of thousands of images, maybe a million images. And then they said, what are the most like used 50 images, most popular 50 images, and 3 of the most popular 50 images were that skull logo that the Bored Ape Yacht Club uses.
Wow. Was
a totem. And so a company named Yuga Labs that's named after the Kali Yuga, with the logo that is that skull logo that all these people on 4chan, all these Nazis are using in conjunction with talking about the Kali Yuga, like it's so obvious, you know what I mean? And then you look into this guy's history, Wiley Aronow, and you see, oh well, he helped write a book that is full of racism and Nazism and pedophilia and all this shit. And so, I think what it is, a lot of people don't understand, like, I don't even think these people are that serious about it. Like, I think to them it's like a joke or something. But now it's like a joke that went too far.
Right. So, what if I'm a Bored Ape, if I'm one of the creators of the Bored Ape Yacht Club and you're sitting across from me,
yeah, what
is it that you would want to express to me? If I'm one of Gordon Garner or one of these guys who are part of the main team, like what are your thoughts? What are you trying to get across? Like,
I just would want to know why they did it. That's what I'm most curious about. And this whole thing about I know that it's ideological because they won't change it. If this was all chance and someone was like, hey, did you know you share a name? The name you made up is not the name your parents gave you. The name you made up that you chose for yourself is shared with a child pornography movie. And you're like, I don't care. Like, that's crazy. Like, you could just, nothing is stopping this guy from changing his name. Like, he could just, no one's going to do anything. Like, just change your name. You know what I mean? Or the logo. Change the logo. Just change it. Just change it. Like, who cares? Like, that's not going to change the value of the NFT. Do you know what I mean? It's such a small gesture. It took them like 2 months to take out Stonewall Jackson reference from their video game. And there are people, hundreds of people on Twitter saying, why the fuck does it say Stonewall Jackson in your video game? No response, no response, no response. Finally, they changed it because someone pressed the guy on the phone. He took a phone call. He did an interview with the guy who I have actually become friends with, named Wave Ninja. I actually don't know his real name, but he got to interview Wiley Gordon Goner because he basically did a post, one post that was very in favor of them, basically calling it all this a conspiracy, more or less. And he did a deep dive, and I was like, damn, this dude, he did a deep dive specifically on Greg Solano, one of the members, on Gargamo. And I was like, damn, this dude like really does research. Like, he's pretty good at it. And I kind of knew in the back of my head, like, if he was just to research more, he would come across the same stuff and come to the same conclusion. And he did. And so which is a really interesting thing that's happening. He's like this dude who like completely flipped, you know, and through just researching more, he flipped. But then he got an interview with Wiley because Wiley thought that, which is Gordon Goner, thought that he was on his side. And when in the interview he pressed him, he was like, "What's up with this thing?" Like, and he recorded it. And Wiley like admitted, he's like, "Yeah, you know, it's a reference to the Confederate dude or whatever." That's what he said in the interview. And shortly after that, they changed it because they probably realized, like, oh damn, like we just got cornered. Like we just got caught admitting that we know that there's a Confederate general in our thing. You know what I mean? And these guys are from, like, three of them lived in Virginia. Two of them are from Virginia, the same place that like the Stonewall Jackson statue just got removed from. Do you know what I mean? So if you're from Virginia and you live in that world and you've seen that statue come down and then you put that name in your shit, that's very deliberate. Do you know what I mean? If you're from another country, or maybe if you're from California or some shit, it would be more believable. But the fact that you know that those statues just came down, all the Robert E. Lee statues, they just came down. Mm-hmm. The Stonewall statues in Charlottesville, in Richmond, in Savannah, all these places were removing all the statues. You know what I mean? And then you put, I mean, in a metaverse sense, you put the statue in your video game. I'm just saying it's very obvious, but that's one of many examples. But that's one of the only examples that they actually did change. That's why I bring it up. And so, like,
I know they had even on one of the coders, I saw a lot of people pushing back with the Stonewall Jackson coda.
Right. That's exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. They called it Stone Holes Jackson.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think, and so my point is that shows their resistance to changing this shit. Do you know what I mean? Like, if it took 2 months and then you had to get caught in a lie in order to change it, that means that you don't want to change it. That means that, and why don't you want to change it? That's the sketchy part. Like, why do you care? Like, I thought you're not just about money. Like, what is this? And another thing that I think is interesting to think about from the perspective of a holder is the background of these people is so different from like what they're trying to sell. Like, they're trying to sell this like streetwear brand, and they're trying to sell this like luxury product. But like, you know, if you look at these people's background, they're like, you know, writers, and they're like super like literary, like, you know, buffs about like nerdy shit. Like, and yet they're like trying to sell like this like streetwear product. It's kind of weird to me, you know what I mean? And it's like, I don't know, like, I just feel that there's such a disconnect between their own personal culture and like what they're trying to sell. And I think that disconnect can also be seen in the utility that they offer the apes. Like, what do you know? Like, you probably like, you know how they have that bathroom thing?
Yeah.
Did you ever look into that?
So when you say I know it's supposed to be like where people in like drawing little art dicks on the wall or
Right.
whatever, like some weird shit like that. Like I heard that piece. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, I just think that like if you think about it, that's like a pretty like negative way to look at your consumer base. Like I'm gonna sell people access to a virtual bathroom. Like you know what I mean? It's like
When I first got the ape, I couldn't understand half the shit behind it. Like I'm just being honest, man. Like I heard all this hype behind the project. Obviously, you see a lot of artists and celebrities and everybody getting behind it. You know, I started doing my research on NFTs and like quite honestly, like the fucking whole process of coming into the NFT space is like completely foreign.
Yep.
You know, but you see the gains that you're able to make. So obviously, like not looking super deep into logos and things like that. I was just like kind of like really lost for a bit on the understanding, but I'm paying attention to like I'm like, wow, I just watched this floor price fucking go crazy. Like I gotta pay attention to it. So I'm making an investment into the project, and then you know. You really start realizing like the whole NFT space and the crypto space is like super confusing. Getting into Discords and it's like fucking all kind of weird shit happening in the Discord. It's like a whole new language. Do you feel like, you know, because I hear, I sit in a lot of Twitter spaces and I hear like a lot of people just talking about what their thoughts are for Web3. Do you feel like Web3 is really truly intended for everybody? Do you feel like Web3 is like really for the artist and that piece, or do you feel like it's the troll? Do you feel like it's the way of releasing people's true feelings of racism and troll and being a way to, you know, get it off without people understanding? Because it is, I mean, like, you know, what's promoted and presented is these floor prices and these opportunities of, you know, gaining, you know, wealth or making money. But when you start looking at some of the projects and the people behind it, it's not very easy to get into the space. Like to, you know, like I even at one point was about to make my own NFT, and then I realized really quickly like how hard it is to find the right people, like, and even having the right developers and all the pieces that kind of go behind the scenes that, like if you're new to the space, it just kind of is very complicated. So I guess just from a overall question, is the NFT space something that's legit about giving the artist full control for positive reasons? Is this something that's open for everybody? Is it really like exclusive to white supremacists and people who are, you know, thinking, you know, on this 4chan type wave?
Yeah.
Like, what are your thoughts on that?
There's a lot to unpack, but I think in its essence, I'm very much pro cryptocurrency and I'm very much pro NFT, and I do believe that this word decentralization can mean something, and it can mean something positive to the people who really could use you know, a leg up in the world in terms of like being able to have an access point that is to the entire network, which is what cryptocurrency in general does, is it gives you access to the same information that everyone else has access to. We all have access to the exact same database, and you can't say the same for like Facebook. Like Mark Zuckerberg is holding that database, and if you want to interact with that, you have to interact, you know, and pay that one corporation. But in this case, you know, it's a decentralized database. I know that you, I looked at a bit into your work, and you do education in terms of real estate.
Right.
And so, like when you do that, you probably are confronted by people who are intimidated by it, you know, and who don't know how to start, and a lot of the terms that are being used they don't understand, and that barrier to entry is what's holding people back a lot of times. Is that?
It's fair to say, yeah.
Yeah. And so I think that goes for a lot of especially financial institutions like stocks or something like that. You know, where there's like a barrier to entry just in this like whole kind of jargon and all these words that are put around an entire industry to basically make it more complicated than it really is. And I'm sure when you explain the real estate and you help people make money, they at the end of it they're like, oh, that wasn't hard. You know what I mean? Like I know how to do this now, and
Right.
like I feel confident, and I can't believe I ever you know, put that much respect into someone who's making this much money feeling like they could take my money, like without me making money myself. You know what I mean? And so I think a lot of that is the same with any. It's like, but especially with this industry, is you're right, because people don't know how to get started. They don't know the right terms. They don't know where to look. There's not education. There's not a community around it. Most of it is because it's so new. Like, it happened all so fast. So how do you even know where to look? There's not even a book. There's not even time to publish a book about this shit. Do you know what I mean? So in that sense, you know, people did rely on, you know, these kind of like overlords of tech, I think, when in fact they shouldn't have. Because if you actually break it down and you look at how NFTs got really popular and expensive, it's all from culture. It's all from basically getting celebrities, getting people to broadcast this stuff and promote it. And it's not the tech behind it is not genius. It's not groundbreaking. A lot of people can do that exact tech, and it was actually around for years, not going anywhere until Gary Vee hopped in the CryptoPunk Discord and started pumping CryptoPunks.
Mm-hmm.
And then people realize, oh, CryptoPunks are now getting really popular because of Gary Vee, and they sell, oh, this is a recipe. This is how we do it. So then everyone figured out how to basically get, you know, music managers and people connected to athletes and you know, to basically promote these NFT things. And you know, a lot of the musicians and athletes and actors and stuff, they weren't working because of COVID. So if someone says, oh, I'll pay you X amount of money, or I'll give you this thing for free that's worth X amount of money if you just promote it and put it on your Twitter, your IG, whatever, yeah, it sounds good. That's cool, easy. And so a lot of times, like, that's how this went down. So my point is basically, it's like there is too much power and emphasis, I think, given on the tech leaders. And I think that they themselves created all of these terms and like this obfuscation of reality in order to sell the product. And like, for instance, the whole notion of intellectual property is like not real. Like, and that's not even what NFTs are for. Like, traditionally, if you're gonna sell the rights to a logo, let's say, or a cartoon or something, you would need a contract, and you would need signatures on the contract, and you would need names on the contract. An NFT transaction doesn't have any of that. It doesn't even have a name. So it's like the whole idea of we're going to use NFT to transfer intellectual property rights to a cartoon in and of itself is like a crazy lie. So I don't know. I think that it's good that a lot of people made money on this thing, but now that people have made money, and people have also gotten wrecked too. Like, let's not forget about that. There are a lot of people who have lost a shitload of money, you know, just on ETH. Like, there are people who are buying ETH at over 4K. Do you know what I mean? And ETH is at like 1,500 right now. So there are a lot of people who have also, you know, in the past couple of years gotten completely wrecked with crypto. And like, I don't know where their voices are, but they're definitely out there. People who have lost a ton of money on NFTs and crypto in general, and thinking about how to take the power back, basically.
So speaking on that, right? NFTs have, you know, they came out in the last year or so, and they really came out on fire. Everybody's all excited and etc.
Right.
But most projects, in fact, have went to zero.
Yeah.
Or went to shit and haven't done anything for their community.
Mm-hmm.
The Bored Ape, on the other hand, I mean, like, being a holder, man, I've gotten airdrops. I've gotten additional NFTs that they've given to them. They're giving me land plots. I hear so many of the negative things, but it seems like from their brand perspective, they've been the only one I've seen really kind of keeping and infusing their community together from an NFT standpoint. I guess my question is, like, from an NFT community standpoint, it's almost like the Bored Ape is necessary and needed, because I don't see many other projects that have had any sort of that type of sustainability, plus the money that they've kind of infused into the market by creating these sub drops or whatever, and creating airdrops, where it's like giving you basically the money that you may have invested back, whether it be the Ape Coin or some of the other projects that they're dropping land and things of that nature. They've pushed out a tremendous amount of value back to their community. And I bought so many other things that were supposed to be, the cool project. The artwork was looking cool, and then I look up and my shit's worth zero, or like,
Right.
The founders have disappeared or whatever. You've seen so many weird things happen. And I know you say you didn't take the same approach as Phillion with the Burn BAYC, but obviously I know you have like your own mission when it comes to exposing, a lot of the things that we've talked about so far today. Do you feel like the NFT space is going to have any longevity with a lot of what we're seeing right now? Obviously, crypto is something that, I think is necessary, but we're seeing so much of the confusion with art and the rug pulls and so many things. And what you alluded to or really touched on was a lot of this was created with influence and not really super tech. So we're using the time of the pandemic where you could get artists to stamp something, and most of these artists didn't give a fuck about their following or whatever, because they were trying to get a bag.
Yep.
And then they were promoting projects that were trash.
Yep.
And I seen many rappers throughout the pandemic who, I mean, hey man, I start calling some of y'all motherfuckers out, man, because I bought a lot of y'all projects, man, in support, and the shit just like you don't hear them mention it ever again.
For sure.
Like you just don't even fucking mention it. Like, I'm like, hey man, I supported an artist. I'm thinking like, from a like, for me personally, like I saw a lot of black artists that I was like, hey, just off the fact that you were a black artist, I'm like, hey, look, I put a $5,000 up there, or I put a $2,000 or whatever, to show support. And then the project like comes, they do they do the mint, and then you don't hear shit else. It's
right.
Like
they probably don't even understand it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've talked to artists specifically who like promote NFTs. I'm not gonna name names, and they just like don't even. They're just like, oh yeah, I don't know. Like they sent me the image and they said, put this up and I'll give you X amount. Do you know what I mean? And like that's it. And there's no like exchange of like, well, this is what this is about. This is how we're selling it. Blah blah blah. It's just like it's literally just like an ad. It's like, oh, if you put this photo of whatever, like a bottle of liquor up on your thing, well, you might not have even tried the liquor before. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you get a bag. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, I'll put that photo of liquor on my Instagram, or I'll put this brand logo on my music video. You might not even know. You know what I mean? And a lot of people don't realize that artists are people too.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And to be honest with you, you can't blame them that much on that, because if you put yourself in their position, it's an easy bag. You know what I mean? It's an easy bag, and it's not. It doesn't seem like it's gonna harm anyone. You know what I mean? And you give a lot of times people give people the benefit of the doubt. They say, well, no, it's not gonna be evil. You know what I mean? It's just someone trying to make money. Do you know what I mean? And so with when you say you've made money with Bored Ape Yacht Club, and other people have too, which is 100% accurate. The same thing. This same cycle happened in 2017 with shitcoins. I think Paris Hilton and Floyd Mayweather were both sued for promoting some shitcoins, And basically what happened was the SEC created a ruling that made it so you couldn't sell when I say shit coins are basically like tokens that were on the Ethereum network that were just like Dogecoin is kind of like a shit coin, but there were like, you know, Emax was like a one, or like there's like a million different coins that were promoted, and you probably remember some of them.
Yeah,
And that was
sure.
Yeah, exactly. And that was before NFTs. And so like basically what happened was after that SEC filing and ruling rather, people were like, oh, well, that says that, you know, if it has no utility and it's just like a token, like a currency, that's what's illegal. So they're like, okay, well, let's just give it utility. We'll make a bathroom wall that you can write on, and it's art. It's like it's an art piece. So my point is that's just the latest flip of the thing. You know what I mean? But it's still not sustainable because it's not useful. It's not. It's gonna. The exact same thing that happened with the tokens is gonna happen with this. It's just a matter of time.
So with Bored Ape creating like the video game and all these different elements now that seems to put kind of like utility behind the project, like what are your thoughts on that? Like, I guess I'm asking a couple questions because for starters, I'm thinking like, all right, when we look at NFT space in general, are we saying that all NFTs are trash? Are we saying that NFTs actually have utility? I guess that's like my main thing, like, you know, because there is this massive wave of NFT, and it's kind of like cooled off a little bit since the market has dried up, you know, a bit. But, you know, that's the first thing I want to know is like, are you telling me right now like NFTs are just flat out trash or
no, not at all. No, I'm not saying. I think NFTs are amazing.
Okay.
And I think they have amazing utility and power. And I think what that power is allowing digital artists to establish provenance. So like for instance, if you're a painter, let's say you make a painting, you sell it, you put your signature on it, and you probably sell it through a gallery that's established. And so when someone buys it, they know that that's like the authentic one. And when Sotheby's goes to resell it, there's someone looking at that thing, analyzing the brushstrokes, if it's a Picasso, whatever, and they say, this is an authentic Picasso. We analyze the brushstroke, we look at the signature. I am an expert on this thing, and I can guarantee you that this is a real one. The issue, if you're a digital artist, which a lot of people are these days, because that's where culture is. It's online right now. And so, but if you're a digital artist, it's hard to do that. If you put your work up online, someone can just download it and they could say it's theirs, or, you know, there's no real value to it. But if you have an NFT of it, you have that NFT that was minted from your wallet, that is established that is your wallet. You know what date it was minted. So if someone mints one after, they'll say, oh, well, this one was minted a year after the first one. So it's obviously not the right one. It's a copy. So that establishes value for a digital artwork in like a real way. That's like a very useful case that that is needed for people who are trying to make money as digital artists. And I think there are utilities where an NFT could help certain cases, like give access, like token gating and stuff like that. But a lot of times it is like I'm friends with a lot of people in the industry, and they're like, if we just use the old way, like a MySQL database, it would be a lot easier actually than doing it this way. And we're doing too many steps to basically use just like this buzzword of NFT because people are going to spend more money on it. So that froth in the market is just a matter of time. Like it always does. It just will go away, and then the actual use of it will come out too. Like you say, the video game thing, right? Like, I don't know why someone would want to play, even if it's a really great video game. Why would you want to play a video game for $3,000 when like the best video games on earth, made by people who have been making video games for 30 years, like Grand Theft Auto and like Fortnite and shit like that, like are like $5 to play? You know, like it just doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? So like even the value proposition of like a $3,000 video game to me doesn't make a lot of sense. And I think at the end of the day, like hype always dwindles. You know what I mean? It's just like music too. Like if something's really hyped up, maybe it'll get a bunch of buzz, it'll get some radio play, but like in 3 years, everyone's gonna forget about it. And like the shit that was actually good is gonna last forever. And I think like, you know, all this stuff is just forms of expression. And the other thing I think that to me, it's sketchy that they incentivize people so much with money. Like, oh, we're going to do these airdrops. We're going to, try to give you all this other stuff. We're going to make it so, you feel like you have like a lot of value in this NFT, because I know what the ideology is behind this stuff. So it's like, if the Nazis paid people to be Nazis, that would make it more fucked up. Like, that's kind of how I see it too. It's like, oh, you're going to pay people to spread your like fucked up ideology, and they won't even know it. You're like creating soldiers who don't even understand what they're fighting for. You know what I mean? And then you have like all these people who are emotionally invested in something. Meanwhile, what's amazing about decentralization is you don't need the same type of corporate backing anymore. You really don't. There are people who have made so much from like, $10,000 investment. And basically like the companies that are owning the lion's share of Web3 is one company actually, which is A16Z, which comes from Web2 world, and they've been investing in the internet since the dawn of the internet. And so they basically are controlling like OpenSea, they control Yuga Labs, they control a lot of the other. They've bought, I think, stake in a lot of the other bigger NFT projects. So my point is that's just like the old model, you know what I mean? And like, I think that there's an opportunity here for a new model. I really do believe that, and I think like that's what we should strive for. And I think we should go up against the multi-billionaires and shit, like, and like as people who like they're taking from a culture that isn't theirs. Like, these guys don't come from anything, you know what I mean? Like, anyone could have done that. The Bored Ape Yacht Club, like, they don't deserve respect. They really don't. And it's like, I wish that, for instance, like the music industry or someone like Snoop Dogg should have his own NFT thing that is like way more popular, you know what I mean? And it's like not fueled with this ideology behind it that I think is extremely dangerous to be spreading.
So when you see like a Snoop or Eminem who are like, culture rock stars,
yeah,
and they're going to influence so many of the culture to get behind the project. I mean, recently I saw Eminem and Snoop do like VMA.
Yeah, people hated that.
Bored Ape themed performance. So like there's so many people with huge influence that are a part of like the Bored Ape Yacht Club and marketing it in some capacity. The momentum that has gotten behind the project has gotten to be where it's like it makes it harder and harder for your message to really stick, for starters. But you when the culture gets behind something because you have so many culture icons who influence it, and they're getting probably a nice bag to promote, right? And you start seeing all these different things, and I'm not. I mean, just in all honesty and transparency, man, I had my ape all over my socials for a while, and I took it down just because I'm like, I don't want to promote potential negative shit if I know about it. So I just wanted to kind of be like, I want to take a step back for a minute and just kind of just like really dive deep in these coincidences or whatever we want to call them, the conspiracy theories of Ryder Ripps.
It's not, I mean, the other thing is it's not just me. A lot of people like to say that, and like, I understand that people need a person to like latch on to, and like, like point a finger at and whatever, or like in both cases, like, but there's no, there is, I mean, literally the whole thing didn't even, someone else showed it to me. You know what I mean? And that person is actually a really he's a significant person in and of himself. You know what I mean? And so, this whole like Ryder Ripps frame, I think, is also, it's not true, and it's not necessarily helping anything in terms of like framing it like that. But yeah, I mean, I'm definitely a vocal person who has dedicated probably more time than most people.
Yeah, when you hear anybody that mentions Bored Ape scandals, your name is the first name that pops up, man. Like you definitely have made enough noise. I'm sure you pissed off everybody at Yuga. What like?
Also, my name I just think is cool. So
what are you in this legal battle? What are you hoping to expose, or what are you hoping to happen?
well, I didn't launch the league. They sued me.
Right.
So that'd be a better question for them, which is something I still don't know what they're after, because they lied about. They said I made $5 million, which is a flat lie.
How much money did you make?
Probably like 500K.
Okay.
Maybe somewhere like that. But the other thing is I have 4 partners in RRBAYC. 3 of them are Jewish. 1 is black. One of the greatest developers in Web3 is black. And he only will work on projects if they're over $1 million or he likes the project. And RBAYC was a project that he likes. And so my point is the other thing is Yuga didn't sue those other people. They only sued Jeremy and myself. Maybe because we're the most vocal about their racism, but also maybe because the optics of suing an African American guy who's one of the leaders in proficiency in coding in Web3 would be bad, and maybe the other guy helped make a really popular, famous website called Genius.com, which is like the lyric site.
Yeah.
And so, because they want to make it seem like I'm an illegitimate person, you know what I mean? Like I'm just this crazy whatever. They always say I'm a conspiracy theorist and a scammer, right? Well, if you see some of the most bright minds next to me, that makes that claim a lot worse. It doesn't make any sense. So what I am trying to accomplish is basically I'm just protecting my rights here. Do you know what I mean? Like I think that the lawsuit is a completely frivolous exploit on their part. I think that they have no desire to recover funds from me. They're a $5 billion company. I don't think that they really need my 500K. And I think that the lawyers are going to cost more than that on their part. So, in terms of why they're doing this and what I can get out of it, like all I'm trying to do is speak up for the truth. You know what I mean? And if the lawsuit acts as a platform for that, that's fine. It's unfortunate that they have to take it there. Do you know what I mean? And they're especially in crypto, because crypto is really supposed to be self-governing, I believe. And they're really proving like all the ideals that I thought were in crypto, which is freedom of speech and which is self-governance. I think that they're showing that they have no respect for that. And I think that they are really just trying to do this as a form of intimidation and as a form to slow us down as a movement. Like the NFTs, the RBOYC NFTs has 0% royalty. So if you were to buy one and then you were to resell it, I wouldn't be making any money. Mm-hmm. And before they were taking off OpenSea, the volume was crazy, and the floor price was like 3 ETH. And so basically, I think they saw that as like a big threat to them, not only like money wise, but like I think that they saw it as like an ideological threat. You know what I mean? Like people kind of were starting to get more and more hip to what Yuga Labs is up to. You know what I mean? And when you embolden, like now everything is about money. You know what I mean? It's like, it's actually ironic that like I had to create RBAYC to get more attention on this thing, because like the money talks, so to speak. You know what I mean? People respond when they see a dollar symbol. And so, yeah, I mean, I think I don't know. I don't know where the lawsuit's going. I mean, I think if there's still any semblance of fairness and justice, like, they're gonna strike this thing down. We filed a motion, which is called the anti-slap motion, which is basically if someone files a lawsuit against someone else to restrict their freedom of speech, and that's all it's about. This can get the entire case dismissed, and so like that's what we're trying to do right now.
Okay. When it comes to what's next for you, you got. I mean, obviously, I'm sure you got a ton of things. Like Dame kind of broke down like you working with so many different people.
Mm-hmm.
What are you actually working on? Outside of like battling.
Sometimes I forget about that, especially when we're in the midst of a conversation like this. I always get because I'm so passionate about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm there's a bunch of other stuff I'm passionate about too, and Tyga's coming out with his album that I'm doing creative direction on. Super excited about that. 2 music videos are in the pipeline, both for Tyga as well. And they use a completely new type of technology called volumetric motion capture, which is basically like a studio that uses infrared light, like how your iPhone unlocks when you look at it, which is like infrared light that bounces at your face and then it unlocks your phone. Basically, it's like tons of infrared cameras that create like a 3D image of a person. So he's like performing, and then we take his performance, which is all 3D, and we put it in like 3D space. And the video is crazy. It's just there's so much shit that you can do within 3D space, and it's not like AR, because AR is like augmented reality where you're filming like reality, and you put some 3D shit in reality. Mm-hmm. This is like you have something that is real that you put into 3D space, but because you capture it in such detail, it looks real. Like it's like a 3D object, but it looks totally real.
I saw a very cool Aaron Donald Super Bowl, like he's putting on a ring. I don't know if you saw, it's like a 3D image.
I didn't see that.
So it's like it was a billboard, but it's like a 3D billboard, and it's like a ring like kind of pops out in the middle, and he just like sticks his hand in the ring. It's like cool.
But it was like I think I've seen stuff like that. So it's like an optical illusion that was like like a 3D, like a billboard that looked 3D or some shit with the I've seen something like that. It's like a Tokyo billboard like that.
Yeah, I said I need to learn how to do shit like that.
I mean, all that kind of like playing with like what's real, what's fake is something that we're definitely like, that's like the metaverse shit. But like the possibilities are opening up in big ways in terms of like integrating like real things with the virtual world. And as a creator, that's exciting. But I also think like it's important that we don't lose like humanity with it. Like one of my favorite bands is Daft Punk. And like Daft Punk, they're robots, but all their songs are all about being human. And I think like that is a extremely important part of technology, is like keeping keeping the human element.
Yeah, I'm trying to find that. I was like, man, that thing was cool as shit.
I've seen billboards that look like. Actually, just saw there's some EDM show there. There's like a hand that popped out as well.
Yeah. What else is that we didn't cover? So anything that I didn't ask you that you want to make sure that you address, or anything at all? I don't want to.
Yeah, a lot of the Bored Ape Yacht Club thing in general, like to me, a lot of this is like, it feels like I'm in a Twilight Zone episode or some shit. Like it's just so obviously fucked up, and like there are so many other people who see it too, like Dame, for instance. And like I mean, of course I knew Dame's work, but I had never spoken to him. But the stuff that he saw, which he had expressed on a podcast before yours, he was on a Revolt podcast or something.
Yeah.
And was just
EYL's podcast,
yeah, which he never heard of my stuff. He was just separately talking about this, but it was aligning exactly in the same way that like I've thought about it, and other people in the community have thought about it. And so like, yeah, I mean, this is an issue that I think is important to bring up, and it's just so. I think it's dangerous when people say that something in front of your face isn't in front of your face. Like, I think trying to make someone into a crazy person or trying to gaslight, trying to call them crazy is super dangerous. Like, it'd be like, no, there's no mic in front of your face, and you're like, no, I'm looking at it. Like, I can touch it. I'm like, you're wrong. You're crazy. That's not a microphone. Like, that's something else. It's like,
Right.
I think that doing that on a mass scale is actually really fucked up and dangerous.
So I like, that we just had, I just asked Jeremy a question about, important things that you guys wanted to cover, and he was like, well, you work with a lot of high level people.
Yeah.
This isn't about clout. This isn't about, trying to come up off Bored Ape Yacht Club. You work with some very influential people in the industry for quite some time.
And I've actually, to be honest with you, I've put that on the line, because there are people who I have worked with and who I am associated with who are, high up members of Bored Ape Yacht Club or are friends with people who are in the Bored Ape Yacht Club. And as you know, like a lot of other industries, music industry is very interconnected. You know what I mean? And so me going against them and their manager, the Bored Ape Yacht Club manager, is a very powerful music manager. And so, I've literally decided that this is more important than a lot of my work. And if I end up not getting work from this, that's something I'm willing to deal with. You know what I mean? So I've taken a tremendous risk in a real way by speaking up about this thing. And that's okay. You know what I mean? That's not, I'm not trying to like make anyone feel bad or anything, but that's a fact. That's a reality. And it is what it is. But look, my whole life, to be honest with you, I'm a creative person. You seem like you're a creative person. You understand that like I've lived life through God's will, honestly. Like I've done things, one thing after the next, not with any grand plan. I haven't thought about like what's my 5-year plan or anything like that. Some people think like that, and that's cool. But I've just done what my heart and what God tells me to do, like what I feel is a calling, and that's what I've done through my whole life. Like I pursue things because I just feel a need to pursue it, and whatever it is. And to be honest with you, it's taken me through an amazing journey where I've gotten to work with a lot of great people, and I've gotten to create a lot of different types of things. I've gotten to create visual art. I've gotten to create sculpture. I've gotten to create fashion. I've gotten to create food products. I've gotten to create websites, all sorts of different types of creations I've been able to do. And I've been able to meet amazing people like yourself along the way. And so for me, like, I don't have a grand plan. I just follow my heart, and I follow what I think, basically a higher power is guiding me to do. And like, so that's a lot of this stuff. It's not like there's not any grand anything. Like you're like, and I know that people be like, well, what are you trying to get out of this or this lawsuit or this? I was like, to be honest with you, I actually don't know. Like, and I think a lot of creatives are like that. Do you know what I mean? It's like, if you go into the studio, like I love music, and I work with a lot of musicians because I've made music in my life. And you don't go into the studio saying, I need to make blah, 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 blah. You just go in, you feel it out. And some days you might not even make anything. You just hang out, And so, I don't know. Like, I think that's something that's also lost on people is like there's no grand plan. There's just, this is something that I feel. And fortunately, I've been able to make money through creativity that I can actually pursue this. Most people, they don't have that. They don't have that affordance. They don't have that luxury, which is an amazing luxury. I'll be honest with you. It's an amazing luxury to be able to follow your passions and your heart. Most people can't do that because they have to, they have a 9 to 5 or whatever else, or they're scared, or they're, there's a million things that are stopping people from saying what they feel or from doing what they want.
One of the things that I talked to you about before we got on is like, I'm a Washington Commanders fan now. I used to be Washington Redskins. Now they went to the football team and then to the Commanders. And I remember just in the fan base how it was so many people who had so much pushback because they didn't actually find it the name Redskin offensive.
Right.
And, me personally, like when I talked to Dame, I didn't find Bored Ape Yacht Club from a ape perspective or seeing a monkey. It didn't put like a racist tone to me. As I look at some of the coincidences and all the things that you guys have done with research, it makes you go, God damn, like, come on, Bored Ape. Like, this is a lot of fucking weird looking shit. Like, if you're just being honest, right? If I'm just being flat out honest, I'm looking at the video and I go, guys, this is a little alarming. And I think when you see so many different pieces that could be construed as pedophilia, racism, you would say, hey, I would like to see something done that would kind of clear these up.
Yep.
So, as a Bored Ape holder, I hope that Bored Ape definitely takes a look at strongly changing some of the imagery with some of the things. I mean, I think obviously they're so deep into the branding at this point.
Yeah.
They can't change everything, but I think that there is some glaring issues that can be corrected, that need to be corrected. And I want to just, tell you, man, like, kudos to you for having the balls to face a juggernaut and expose your likeness, your mental health, and all those other things, because people don't realize you started taking attacks from everybody, definitely when people have fans. I mean, and Bored Ape has a massive fan base. So, I'm a shit talker myself. So I get when, sometimes you start going against somebody who has a strong following. It could be very, very challenging to remain focused and remember what your calling is and why you spoke up, originally. So my hat's off to you just for having the courage to stand up against a very large giant in the NFT space. Bored Ape is running the NFT space, as a matter of fact, at this point. I don't think there's anything larger as far as the momentum and the brand. And, I definitely want to just say, hey, man, I respect you for having the balls to bring things that to the common eye would not have been seen. I would have never saw that shit. I would have never did that type of research. And there's many people who wouldn't have done that type of research or even known what they were looking at, even if the shit was dead in their face. So I think these things are important to be discussed. I think that what you have brought to the light will help people make decisions based one way or another how they deal with being a member or supporting Bored Ape Yacht Club. I'm still gonna keep my ape for the time being. I want to kind of, make some decisions on. I want to see what, first and foremost, what happens in the upcoming months with all the attention, because I know even this right here is going to get a lot of eyeballs on it. And I would like to see the Bored Ape Yacht Club do what's right. If there's something that could be deemed that is offensive or racist or is against the Jews or anybody, that stuff should be cleaned up. And I mean, like I said, like I was a Redskin fan and die hard. But when you start hearing people say that they're offended by the name Redskin, I say, if it offended one person, why not just change it?
And now that they changed it, do you care?
Like, no, it doesn't even matter. Like, they won today. They had a game today, man. They're 1-0, and nobody's saying hell to the Redskins, but saying hell to the Commanders. And it's if it's not offending anybody, just make the corrections to make sure it's right. And if it is offending people, even if it's just one people, even if it's one group that feels that way, why not just do what's right? You guys have created a tremendous brand. You've done beyond probably what anybody could have imagined in the NFT space. And now you have a responsibility to make sure like your information that you're putting out there and the way that you represent the brand should be at the highest level, because you are representing the culture and you are using the culture. And you got guys that have like a Snoop Dogg or an Eminem, and all the athletes and the football players and little babies and gunners. You have so much of the culture, and we don't stand for that. Like, there's not anybody in the culture, like if you start talking about it, that stands for racism. When you talk about a little baby, when you talk about a gunner, these aren't guys that are going to support known racist behavior or trolls of that nature.
Yep.
And I think Bored Ape, you should definitely make sure for any of the apes that have that type of languaging or reflection, you should burn it and maybe make a new one. You know, right? I think you got the option. Hey, you can replace it. Take the fucking hat off on one of them, or you know, change some of the imagery on it.
Change the contract, so now they can't even do that. But
So you said the change. So that's something like. But I'm not sure what the options would be.
Yeah.
But I definitely think acknowledgement and maybe even some correction is in order from Bored Ape.
I agree. I would hope to see that. You know, I would hope to take responsibility on their part, and it's also, even if they didn't intend for anything, it's still dangerous. Do you know what I mean? It's still dangerous to call people monkeys. Like, that's still being used. That's still being used today. Do you know what I mean? In the most vile way. And just because, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think Bored Ape Yacht Club is going to fix the, you know, thousands of years of putting people down through calling them monkeys. Like, they're not going to fix that with this like one NFT project. You know what I mean? So they need to, I agree, they should definitely address it. And I think with the Redskins example, it's like, it's not only that it's an offensive image, is that it has a negative effect on people, on culture. It's like when people see a cartoon caricature of a Native American person and it puts them in a negative light, they probably won't like Native American people, especially like children. You know what I mean? We always forget, like, there are children looking at this stuff. This is like, either it's a logo of a sports team or it's a NFT. Like, kids like cartoons. You know what I mean? Like, this stuff has a real effect. You know, like Disney was full of racist shit, and a lot of it was to indoctrinate people and was to manipulate people, and it was a reflection of the people who drew those Disney cartoons that were racist. And Disney has come out and since acknowledged it and apologized for it. And if you watch an old Disney movie that contains these racist tropes, there's a warning in the beginning that explains, what are you looking at? And they fully acknowledge it. And they're not burning that stuff. They're not getting rid of it, but they're saying, look, this was not right. We take responsibility. And we hope that, you know, acknowledging this and making it available helps people understand history.
This is deep, man, and I'm so impressed by like your knowledge base, for starters, man. Like the research you put into exposing and revealing so much that most people wouldn't have even ever paid attention to. And then to have the courage to come out and go up against, you know, one of the most dominant players in the game. So my hat's off to you, Ryder, man. I appreciate you coming and joining today. This has been a phenomenal interview, and it's very enlightening. From an NFT standpoint, what do you think the you know, getting into other projects, how can we avoid this in the future? How do you know what to better look for to you know, avoid all of the shit that just seems to be just like,
I mean, I think for one, care who makes something. You know what I mean? The Bored Ape Yacht Club guys, when they launched the project, they were hiding behind fake names. You know what I mean? And they had no internet history. They had no history. So especially if it's art, care who made the art. Who's the person who drew this thing? What does it mean? Why did they draw it? Do you know what I mean? Stuff like that. And so that for one, I think is extremely important. Just in general, like know who's making the stuff that you're buying, you know, and why they're making it. And then if you want to make money in the space, I think there's so many opportunities. And if a lot of people are way too intimidated by code, I would just say that, especially if you're a young person. I think if you're maybe over 50, it's harder to learn stuff. But if you're under 30, you can figure it out. You can Google. Everything is available. You can download the repositories on GitHub. You can start taking coding classes. There's a lot of free stuff on YouTube. You can get engaged with the community on Twitter, who's also developing stuff, and you'd be surprised how open that community is.
All right, so give me some safe spots to go learn NFTs, and you got some resources or spots I can go and direct my audience. Say, hey, look, here's some good places to learn.
Yeah. I mean, I think Omakase has a really great program right now where he is helping people launch their own NFT collections. He's someone in the space who I respect. Like I said, just going into GitHub, signing up for GitHub. GitHub is basically you could think of it like where coders talk and where they share code and where they collaborate on code. And if you learn that and you learn just the basics on that, it could literally be going on Google and type in how to use GitHub. And then you just start using this stuff and you start just going in and just trying it out. Your barrier to entry, once you unlock one thing, it's just like anything else. You'll start realizing that it's not that hard. And I think the first thing is just not being intimidated. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Like not being intimidated to learn. And right now, if you want to control the world and you want to make a lot of money, you can do that with knowing how to program. It's actually funny. My brother is 17 now. He works for a crypto startup. He makes, I don't even know if this is legal to say, but he makes $200K a year, my little brother. I taught him basic HTML. I'm not even that good of a programmer, I'll be honest. I know basic stuff. I taught him HTML and CSS, which is like the foundations of just like web design. I taught him that when he was 6. Within like a year, he got much better than me. Like by the age of like 7, he was like way better than me. Now he's like a full-on genius. And that's just because like I taught him at a point when he wasn't intimidated to learn. When he wasn't, because when you're a kid, you're not scared in the same way. Adults are scared because you don't have anything to lose. That's why kids will like fall all the time and like run into shit and spill things and drop glass. Like they don't care. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They're still learning. And so if you have that childlike mentality and you go into things and you're not scared and you start learning, there's so much opportunity. And we really, really, really shouldn't let the billionaires of the past, the Mark Andreessens and the Jeff Bezos of the world own everything. And like we need to start doing shit for ourselves and start making our own platforms and stop using the ones that are built for us. You know what I mean? And if you look at those ones, they need us more than we need them. Mm-hmm. They rely on popular culture to promote their shit. The power isn't in their thing. The power is in the people and the culture. And once you realize that, it's like, oh, the only missing link is like programming. And all I have to do is like not be intimidated to do that, or like find people or know how to speak. That's another thing, is just knowing how to speak the language. Right. You know what I mean? If you just know enough to know who's full of shit and who isn't full of shit, then that's enough to know who to hire. You know what I mean? So that then you could do a lot. And there's a lot of resources now. The world is a global place. You can go on Upwork and hire people to do things. There's so many ways of utilizing the global economy to get things made efficiently and cheaply, that anyone can really do anything. You just have to know how to know enough to know what's bullshit. Right. I think that's the most important thing in being successful. You could build a house. You don't have to build it yourself, but you have to know what construction worker is capable of building the house, and know that someone who comes around and they never heard of sheetrock know that they're full of shit. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? So, in that sense, understanding the fundamentals of how all of this stuff work is the only way to make a real amount of money, you know, and not rely on other people to do it. So yeah, I think it all starts at education, and it's amazing because you really, I mean, the internet, it's kind of like a silly thing to say, but like you really can learn so much just from like Wikipedia or like just using Google. Just, you know what shit I've learned? Every day I'm like using YouTube to like, you know, watch free videos about how to do things, like whether it's programming or fixing a car, or you know what I mean. There's so much stuff. There's just such a knowledge base, and I think if people just aren't intimidated, that's really the first step. Is just being like, I'm not scared to like figure out how to do this. I'll open up the hood of my car and figure out how to change the oil myself. Like,
Yeah.
how scary can that be? Let's figure it out.
How he was saying that he doesn't like the apes because it was he's like why does it all have to be apes? Why are there so many now? Like it's like he said it's like COVID. That's what he said. He's like it's like mutating, and you can tell that it is mutating, and because there's so many fucked up. Like I was just looking at myself, and like I mean I'm not even gonna say these things, but
Yeah.
you know what I mean. So it's like this project is inspiring. So here's a good version of sneak fucked up racism. So this one is called Diggers, okay? And they're apes, right? And then they say, I mean, as if they're not, you know, they're saying the N-word without saying it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They're being funny with it.
Wow.
Yeah. You know, and oh look, this is the same project. It goes, list your digger. Oh, and then meet the father of your kid.
Can you show it to the camera?
This shit.
Yeah, and that was what he talked about. He said now it created like all these other derivatives of projects that make it an ape, slave ape, and just the naming of some of the stuff is
Like this shit with the afro. It's like very overt. You know, and it's like they think they're funny. You know what I mean? Like, and if you look at these projects, it's all white people behind it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, same with the Bored Ape Yacht Club. Oh, this is another thing that this is a small sample of. I just think this is important from an investor standpoint. You know what I mean? People are spending so much money on this shit. They should understand. But it's like Bored Ape Yacht Club on their website. They say each ape is unique. That's literally the words that they say. They say each ape is unique. Well, here's a small sample. There's like way more. I think there's 112 total that aren't unique. So each one of these is literally the same except the background color. Which that's not enough. You can't own a color. So it's like if this person wanted to use this product to sell guns, and then this person wanted to use this product to sell children's toys, what would happen? You know what I mean? And so I feel like this was a mistake on their part. Like they didn't actually intend this to happen, but it just shows like how little they care and like how willing they are to lie. Like they're just lying. They just don't give a fuck.
very interesting points.
Yeah, my printer makes them look different, but they're the same. Like these two. Yeah. So I mean, it's like. To me, how do you justify that as an owner? Like, if you were to buy this one, and then you find out that someone owns the exact same one, and you just spent $200K on this one, wouldn't that make you upset? Like, it would make. I know for a fact it would make me upset if I was like, damn, I want to use this to sell my weed or whatever the hell you want to sell. You know what I mean? If you had the plans to make, I want to use this for my towing company, and then you're like, oh, someone has the exact same one. And I just spent $200K on this shit, and like they have the exact same one. I have no idea what they're gonna use theirs for.
Good points.
Yeah, so interesting shit. I don't know. There's so many things that are like. I mean, it goes so deep with these things. It's like it's kind of crazy because it's actually like. I almost feel that because there's so many points. Oh, this is the founder of Bored Ape Yacht Club. One of them. I don't know. I thought that was I just printed this out because he claims to be a Hindu. That's like one of the things. He also says he eats cheeseburgers, and Hindus don't eat beef. And he's just like, here he is, like, whatever, like he put these words on this thing.
Can you show it to the camera?
Like, it's just like his excuse for being obsessed with the Kali Yuga is that he's a Hindu. And like another thing he says is that he eats cheeseburgers and steak exclusively. And like this thing about like straddling this man doesn't seem very like godly or Hindu to me. I don't know. I don't know if that's I mean, here's like a tweet from an account that same guy had like interacted with. And it's all this like esoteric Nazi shit. Here's like another tweet from that same account where you might at first say, oh, looks like some kind of like, this is about yoga. But then you look, it has the S, this is all Nazi symbols in here. And this is an account that the co-founder of Bored Ape Yacht Club had interacted with twice, tweeting at it. Here's like I think this is a meme that properly explains what's going on here. It's like the Trojan horse of Bored Ape Yacht Club with racist Nazi iconography and simonization. Guy Series leading it into mainstream culture. And he goes, it's fine, I'm Jewish, I work with celebrities.
Show that one to the camera.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, there's just so much shit. Like, that's the thing is sometimes I think about that. It's like, it's almost like the abundance. Oh, this is like, oh, here's it. So like the inclusion of, I feel like they're obsessed with pedophilia shit. Like that, for instance, I showed you the thing with the guy's name, Emperor Tomato Ketchup, which is a movie that's literally banned. You can't get it. It's banned because it's child pornography. And the guy on the cover wears these glasses that the apes wear too, but it's in this movie Lolita, and on his Facebook he likes that movie Lolita, which is about a guy who's in love with, I think, a 13-year-old girl. 12. And so, you know, that's obviously a reference to that because it's a movie that he likes. And here's another tweet from the co-founder of Bored Ape Yacht Club, where he goes, Woody Allen did nothing wrong. And this guy says, he has a sign that says, Woody Allen and Soon Yi's relationship is the greatest love story of our time. Change our mind. Just so you know, Woody Allen married his daughter. So he's saying Woody Allen did nothing wrong. Like, this guy clearly is fixated on this shit. I don't know. And the fact is the lengths that the four co-founders have gone to scrub their history is crazy. Like, I have not seen anyone do that. If you have nothing to hide, why are you trying to delete every single thing that you've ever done on the internet? And they talk a lot about, we've been using crypto Twitter since 2017. We're really big into crypto Twitter. Well, what are your accounts? Why are you trying to hide your accounts? Wouldn't it be cool to know where the biggest NFT project came from? Like, I would, like, as an owner, I'd be like, that's interesting information. Like, I want to know your history. Like, how did you guys make this shit? Like, where did it come from? How did you learn to do this? What were you talking about, in 2017 when NFTs were first starting? Like, I don't know. Like, every single time that we find something on these guys, they try to scrub it.
Very interesting. Very, very interesting.
Yeah.
That's deep, man. You're talking about the biggest. I mean, it's $1 billion company at this point.
That's the thing. If this was just like some artist or just some, even if it was like a musician or whatever, like, be like, whatever. But the fact is like, this is a $5 billion company that is literally trying to insert itself into every single facet of society. And that's where I get really irked. That's where I get really mad. It's like, there's nowhere that they want to stop. Like, they literally want to be everything. Like, from children's toys to weed companies to movies to music. So, like, if they're going to try to have that much effect on society, I think that they should be checked. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, like, I don't know what it's because this is a new industry and a lot of people don't know this. Oh, I forgot to mention this. It's like there's not a lot of people to check them. Like for instance, if you were, let's say you were just like really rich, right, and you wanted to be a rapper, you had $1 billion. Let's say Jeff Bezos is like, I want to be a rapper, and then he comes out with a rap album, and it's like shit, but he like puts ads out for it everywhere, and he's like paying people to promote it. Like you would have a whole bunch of real rappers being like, this is garbage. Like, this is trash. Like, fuck this music. Like, this is offensive to rap. Like, this is just offensive. Like, you're offending me. The fact that you think you can do this is offensive. And, like, the shit you're talking about is offensive to me. And, like, you would have mad people talking about that. And it would just be, like, a public thing. It would be like, yeah, like, this Jeff Bezos shit is whack. Like, it doesn't matter how much money he has.
Right.
And so, like, in this case, there's just not a lot of people to check these people. But like in most, like in the same would go for art, or the same would go for any real like established industry. There would be like, you know, a group of experts who would be checking these, like checking on like to make sure that this shit is good, and to be critiquing it if it wasn't. You know what I mean? And that's just like a normal process, you know?
Right.
And so the fact that doesn't happen, I think, is also like that checks and balances just isn't existing in this world. I don't, probably because it's so new, and like a lot of people don't understand it. And the other thing is a lot of things, like because they've commercialized this shit so much, so many artists, like real artists, are turned off by it, and musicians actually. They're just like straight up like, I don't want to be involved in that. Like I'm not attracted to that, because it doesn't have like any. There's no like good creativity shit, you know? And that's why people, you know, if you looked at the VMA thing with Snoop and Eminem, like hundreds of thousands of people on Twitter were like mad at it. Like, this is ugly. We were like, this shit was done with the Gorillas, or like, it's been done 1,000,000 times, like way better. And the reason it's so bad is because like they don't care. They don't care, and the people who do care and who are good at animation don't want to work for them, because it's like they're not yeah, you know.
And the interesting piece is like, man, I go to a couple of the meetups with the Bored Ape members.
Yeah.
It's a little interesting group.
Tell me more.
It's definitely an interesting group. Like, not a lot of black people for sure.
Yeah.
It's like more of the tech community. Like, you know, I'm used to being in locker rooms and, you know, around like, you know, a lot of people that are just like culturally, you know, a little different. And you get around these guys and like, oh shit, this is a little different. Like, you know, and it makes you say, like, I can see some of y'all dropping the nigga word or two. Like, I can see some of y'all really supporting this monkey shit from a different perspective. It's just, you can just tell. I mean, it's like certain elements of it. As you start going to some of the meetups and things like that, you do see some really good people, but then there's some shit that you be like, whoa, okay.
Yeah, I mean,
whoa. Yeah.
My critique has never really, to be honest with you, has never been directed at the holders. Like, I don't feel like, I just give them the benefit of the doubt. Do you know what I mean? I feel like a lot of people just didn't know what they were getting into.
No, I think some of the holders came in for very specific reasons. I think there's a lot of holders like myself that came in and noticed that you can make a bag. You saw the floor prices, an opportunity to make money. You hear the hype, etc. But I think there's a group of people who also came in because they do understand the symbolism and things of that nature.
I definitely agree with that. I mean, I don't know if those people are going to meetings or what their deal is, but that group of people has existed in crypto since the beginning, you know? Crypto is straight up used by white supremacists. Like, it just is. It is the de facto currency of the Boogaloo Boys, who are the people who want to start a race war and don't believe in the U.S. government, who stormed the Capitol and all that.
And so there is an underbelly of crypto that exists, and there is a good reason to believe, even if these guys aren't super involved in that, which I don't know if they are or not. I don't know. I know that they're speaking to it. I don't know how involved they are. I think they probably are involved in it, but I don't know how involved they are. But even if they're not involved in it, if you're trying to make a lot of money in the space, especially back then when it wasn't as big, and when you knew, if you were smart in crypto, you knew that the people who had like the real bags in crypto were like racist, essentially. Like you would dog whistle, and you would put shit out that they would hear, because you want them to drop money on your project. So like that makes sense to me on why they would in the beginning put all this stuff in there. It's because like, and they've also admitted it. They said that they were inspired by a project called Hash Masks, and actually their entire terms of service was like literally copy paste of Hash Masks. And if you look into Hash Masks, that's made by a company called Keek Labs. And Keek is Latin that was used above the concentration camp in Buchenwald. And if you Google it, it comes up. That comes up right away. So how would you name your company something that is also shared on a concentration camp? And Bored Ape Yacht Club said, "Oh, this is one of our inspirations is that project." And so I believe that it's possible they were like, "Oh, that project was doing pretty well when they said that." Like it was one of the biggest projects. I mean, definitely under CryptoPunks, but one of the biggest like newer projects at that time. So they were like, "Oh, damn! Like, well, it worked for them to like embed fucked up shit. So maybe that's the way we do it. Maybe that's the way we make money. Is like we put some of this stuff in there." It's probably a combination of that and like they believe some of that stuff, and who knows? I mean, at the end of the day, to be honest with you, I've thought about this so much, and it doesn't even matter what their intent is. The fact is that it's there.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's if I'd never heard the N-word before and I go around yelling it, it doesn't matter that I never heard it before. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't. Your understanding of something doesn't change. It might make it a little better, but it doesn't change that it's fucked up. It's still fucked up. If I get a swastika tattoo and I don't know what it means, I was just like, "Oh, that symbol looks cool." I still should get that tattoo removed. And if someone comes to me and says, "I'm offended by that tattoo, you should remove it," they're not wrong. If I have and I'm sure this actually does happen. This definitely happens. People probably be wearing Confederate flag shirts and don't realize what it means. You know what I mean? Oh, I thought this was just about what's the TV show? What's the TV show that used it? There's that. Oh, I thought this was what's the fucking TV show? Whatever. There's a TV show that uses a Confederate flag from the 70s that's like about the South. Like, "Oh, I thought it was about that." You know what I mean? Or I just am a Kid Rock fan or whatever. It doesn't matter. It's still offensive, and it still carries with it the meaning of the past. Even though you don't want it to mean that, it still has that meaning. You know what I mean?
100%.
Yeah. And so and then it's fucked up. When it's fucked up is when someone says, "Do you know that Confederate flag shirt you're wearing means that you support slavery?" And then someone says, "I didn't know that and I don't care." That's when it's fucked up. A normal person would say, "It does? Are you sure? You're saying I am saying I support slavery by wearing this shirt? Oh, well, I don't support slavery, so I'm going to change my shirt." That would be a normal response. A non-normal response is, "You're crazy, it doesn't mean that, and I'm not taking the shirt off." Because it's not, it does mean that. And your unwillingness to acknowledge that proves that you actually share that ideology. It proves that you don't give a fuck and you want to promote slavery. That's what that's saying, which is a lot of people do. If you drive down to Virginia and below, you'll see a lot of Confederate flags. And people,
I moved from North Philadelphia to Mocksville, North Carolina,
Right.
as a teenager, and the first thing that you see when you go into Davie County is a flying Confederate flag. And for years, that was something that kind of like, as you go into the city, you see this huge Confederate flag, and that's something that was recently taken down. But a lot of people in that area, don't give a fuck of how it makes you feel, or how it may be offensive or things of that nature, because those are the ideologies that they've supported
And still do.
for years and still do. And they look at you as inferior or things of that nature. So 1,000% get the analogy, and hopefully, as this airs, it brings, a light, that's a little bit brighter to the situation. I know my audience is all over it. I mean, fuck, man, I got over $500,000 plus that I spent in the project, man. I mean, like, and then, from offers that I've received on plots of land and shit like that, I mean, like, shit, I've had $500,000 plus offers on land plots that I've received. So it's like, you're talking to somebody right now who I own it. I'm a part of it. Like, I'm in it. Like I said, the Discord and some of that stuff, like, it was so weird in there. I got the fuck out. I just don't even, take part in some of it. And this is definitely something that's a great topic. And I appreciate you coming and spending, time breaking down all your thoughts on this and sharing the research that you put in over some time now. And really just bringing light to some of the things that a lot of people just haven't had the time to do the research. Much appreciated. I think this is going to provide a lot of people with some things to consider.
Yep.
And
that's all it is.
That's
it's
important.
Food for thought. You know what I mean? All this is just education. Like, you can keep your apes, do whatever you want. You know what I mean? Like, it's your. I would say for any investment, whether it's a stock or whether it's an NFT, you should always take profit. That's just a smart thing to do. And so that's just in general.
Yeah, I've had a great deal of success owning the ape. From the ape coin drops and some of that stuff, man. I mean, fuck, I've made all my money back, so it's really like
that's good.
I'm free rolling. I mean, like I'm in a position right now where it would be great, if the owners and the founders of the company address this in a manner that's fair to anybody that finds it offensive, man. Like, once again, I'm not against Bored Ape. I mean, like, I really like a lot of people I've met in the community. I've had, like, positive experience, with becoming a holder. I want to make that clear. Like, I've had, a lot of relationships that I've been able to make simply from holding this PFP of this ape, and it's been pretty cool. But I do know, just like I said with the Washington Redskins, and I'm a fan, if there's things that aren't right or make people uncomfortable, or there's some type of imagery or things that need to be addressed, it should be addressed, and it shouldn't be that, well, that wasn't what our intent was or whatever. It needs to be like, come on, all right, bro, like, whether that was your fucking intent or not, fix that shit. So, hey, BAYC, come on, guys, fix that shit. Cool. We got Ryder Ripps. Appreciate you joining, man. This has been really, really good, man.
For sure.
Appreciate
Thank you.
coming and talking about the troll. Heard from Dame.
He's the man.
Yeah,
he's a visionary.
Yeah, he really made me open up how I viewed it, and then it made me even go back and relook at everything that you guys had done with your work, man. So shout out to Dame Dash. Shout out to Ryder for joining Jeremy. Appreciate you coming, man. Once again, guys, this is all about just giving just you the option to have the information and make an informed decision. I supported it and still support Bored Ape. I hope that you guys do what's right, and make the corrections or bring acknowledgement to any known issues that can be problematic. Thank everybody for joining today. We're out. Peace. That's a wrap for today's episode of the Get Your Ass Up podcast. Thank you so much for joining me in this journey of learning, growth, and self-improvement. I hope you found value in our discussion and feel inspired to apply the insights we've shared to your own life. If you enjoyed the show, please don't forget to subscribe, leave a 5-star review, and share it with your friends and family. We're committed to providing you valuable content to our listeners, and your support continues to help the growth, and I want to over-deliver on that promise. I'm your host, Tony the Closer, and I want to remind you to never stop striving for greatness. Keep pushing yourself. Never give up. And remember that we're all in this together. Stay tuned for more empowering episodes continuing our way to success. Until next time, keep moving forward, and remember, get your ass up and make that shit happen.